Going live. Hit record. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cleveland Opera Theater's Masterclass Online. My name is Scott Skiba. I'm the Executive Artistic Director for Cleveland Opera Theater. It is my pleasure today to welcome our special guest, Masterclass Clinician, Mr. James Marvel of Marvel Arts Management. Awesome director, awesome human being, awesome person, great guy. So I'm excited to have you here, James. Thanks for being here. We've got two really awesome up-and-coming young artists as well. We have Camila Isabel and we have Angel Gomez. Thank you both for joining us today. I'm going to hide my video so you all can get to work. James, do you have any words to say? Welcome, please do. If not, we'll just jump right in.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much, Scott, for having me as part of this wonderful series that you've been doing. I've enjoyed watching the work of the other singers and the other directors, and I think it's a very valuable service that Cleveland Opera Theater is providing. But without further ado, I'd love to hop in and get started working.
All right, so I'm going to hide you, Angel. Then Camila, you can introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, where you're studying, etc., and set up what you're going to sing. And Angel, we'll see you in a minute. I'm going to hide your video here.
All right. Well, my name is Camila Otero, and I'm going to sing. And I'm from Puerto Rico, and I'm currently doing my master's degree in Penn State School of Music with Dr. Rachel Copeland. And I'm delighted to be here, so thank you very much. And I will be performing Quando me vo from the opera La Bohème by Giacomo Puccini. Let me put my track.
Brava. Brava. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Excellent job. Beautiful voice. I love a lot of the gestural things that you're bringing to the character, and a lot of the attitude and things like that is a lot of fun to watch. So excellent work. What I'd like to do is to talk about a few things about the character at first. Let me just get something up here Okay, great. So one of the things, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie American Beauty, but it's with Kevin Spacey and Annette Bening, and a good little film. And there's this moment, Annette Bening's character is having an affair, and Kevin Spacey says to her, "That's because you have no joy in your life." And she says to him, "That's what you think, Mr. Funny Man." And she over articulates everything in her mouth, right?
Okay.
And so in that moment where she's articulating everything in her mouth in that way, she conveys the sensuality and the connection to her physicality just through the extent to which she's articulating everything, right? It gives a sense of attitude. Whereas if somebody kind of talks like this and doesn't really move their mouth or their teeth or their jaw, it indicates a character who's very tight, right? So I think the first thing that I would like to encourage you to go even further with is just to enjoy the language in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
Quando men vo soletta per la via, right? So there's this like pulse and this undulation that is exactly what Marcello is attracted to in her, right? So there's some cool opportunities, I think, just in looking at the language, and then I think another thing, when you think about, she's talking about when I walk down the street, right? So there's a sense in which, think about what it feels like to walk barefoot on sand on the beach, right? Or on fresh blades of grass, and how that is kind of in and of itself an extremely sensual thing. So she her neurology is very sensual, right? So if the fabric is velvet, right, that feels good against her skin, and she's extremely aware of that, right? Just like Scarpia, it's not just females, but Scarpia, I think, he can smell the wine, he can taste the wine, he can smell Tosca in the room before he even sees her, right? So part of the way we can indicate some of that is by how we play with the language and have fun with that, as we're speaking. I think one thing I would love to see is just making a decision for yourself what that little initial burst of music is. Deciding what that is. And in an audition kind of situation, it's interesting because I think that I think more and more auditions are going to be happening online. And so, as we move forward, my prediction is that there will be very few auditions this year in New York in like November and December, and the periods that have traditionally been popular times to be auditioning. So I think that playing with space a little bit, deciding what that initial rush of music is, right? So in one example, I had a friend who had played Musetta in the New York City opera production that was directed by James Robinson many, many years ago. I'm sort of dating myself by even bringing up that production, but it was a very good production. And when she was doing the show, it was being remounted by an assistant director who had not been present for the original staging rehearsals. And in that production, just before she sings Quando men vo, Benoit slaps her in the face, right? So, boom. And so the singer, who was my friend who was talking to me about it, she's like, what am I supposed to do with that? It doesn't feel like she would sing, or maybe it was Marcello who slapped. Anyway, she got slapped. And she said, like, that doesn't seem like she would sing this song after just getting slapped. But what I said was, well, what if that slap turns you on so much that all of a sudden you have to sing this song because I don't know, because maybe in that production that's what turns her on. And maybe that was what the original director was thinking. So, and then we have those, you know, little pizzicato moments, those bum, bum, bum. We have to decide what those mean, right? Because all of that music is a fantastic opportunity to say something about the characters. So do you have any initial thoughts on what that might be?
I do. Right now I'm just imagining maybe that she is like preparing herself, like grabbing the attention and
I love that.
yeah.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So, maybe since it's going to be kind of hard to stop and start the music, why don't you step back a little bit and show me a little something that you can give us, just so that we know exactly who the character is the moment that she appears.
Okay, without the music, without clicking.
If it's easier, yeah. Cool. So yeah, maybe move the chair a little bit, or like completely to the side. Yeah. And step back even farther for now, just so that I can get more of a sense. There you go. Great. Bum 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 bum. Right. So automatically, if you're casting a show, that's who you hire, right? The person who comes in and shows exactly who the character is and embraces her own looks and beauty and et cetera and so forth. And that's the person who gets the role. I promise you every time. So, so good work there. So I think the first kind of, so I am on the side of preferring a little bit more acting, a little bit more movement and things like that rather than less. There are some companies that feel differently, where it's really just about the singing and just about the music. And it's good to do research about who you're auditioning for prior, so that you know what to bring to the audition on that day. But I think like right now, the first thing that I saw, the first kind of real gesture that I saw, and that may be partially because of you know, working on video and stuff like that, was around "E la bellezza mia." Okay, so I think if you start the aria with the movement that you just did, and begin to basically come up with a gestural world for the character a little earlier, it's only going to help. So as you talk about le gente sosta, le gente, sosta is stop, right? So maybe we get a sense of stop, e mira, right? So, and they see me. Yeah. E la bellezza mia, tutta ricerca, to search. And to search for needs to have a little bit of a sense of searching within it, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then da capo a pied, and then Puccini gives you that wonderful music. Now, obviously, I can't see you from head to toe, but a capo a pied, right? And just a little foot turn, because he writes it in there for you in the music. Yeah, it's a gift, right? He just hands it to you. So good. I think as we move into the you know, and I think that there are opportunities just in the language, like for example, occulte and beltà are two very different thoughts, right? And so we need to color each of those words with you know, with the quality of the meaning. Ali occulti beltà, right? So there needs to be a contrast there. And because for me, what it really comes down to is, if we're sitting in an audition and we see 15 to 50 different quandos that day, right? What is going to make or help you stand out? Mm-hmm. And the answer to that question is the details in choosing to color the words and nuance the language and the feeling in those ways, in addition to the sort of other you know, physical aspects. Così l'effluvio, it's almost like Mount Vesuvio, right? It's this thing that's building up inside you, del desio, tutta magia felice mi fa. Like that's the moment where the volcano explodes,
Yeah.
right? So let's, and then what you did just after that, you have this sort of very private, ecstatic moment, and then you look at him and say, "E tu che sai," right?
Mhm.
And I think maybe rather than pointing specifically, which tends to almost be a little accusatory, right? I mean, you can gesture to him or have a softer kind of thing, but I loved the specific focus that you brought to him there. Yeah. So I know I just threw like 100 million things at you just now. Why don't we play with it again from the top? I don't know how easy it is. So are you running the track yourself? You're pressing stop and go? And,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. But
All right.
it's fine because I have time before the games. So
Okay.
I can
So maybe let's check in with the camera after you get to da capo a pied.
Okay.
And then if I want you to keep going, I'll gesture to keep going, or if I want you to stop, I'll give you a little signal.
Perfect.
Awesome. That was awesome. That was fantastic. How does it feel?
It feels freer.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I feel a lot of times that singers, like, you knew how to do all of this stuff before I even said it, but it's really just kind of about knowing that you have permission to do it. And not only do you have permission to do it, you should do it, because for anybody who was to compare the first version versus the second version, everybody would cast the second version. And so because here's part of the thing: if I don't know you, I don't know how open and willing you are to be, like, in a rehearsal kind of process. If I think as a director, like, if somebody stands and they're completely restricted, or really tight or something like that, all I can think is, like, I'm going to be spending all 3 weeks of rehearsal trying to get this person to a place that you already know how to go to, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So I think just always know that you have that permission. Always know that one thing that you were playing with that I like a lot, and I work with my students on this a lot at the University of Tennessee, is the idea of body tempo, right? So by body tempo, really all that means is the music might be going at a certain tempo, but how you might be moving is going at another tempo, right? And so the cool thing about sustained movement, right? If you watch somebody who's doing Tai Chi or something like that, it's really difficult to look away from what they're doing. I mean, because they're so focused on their movement, right? That it just draws you in. And so I think that one of the cool things that you did instinctually this time was to start with some gestures that were slow and sensual, but then you sort of, like, messed with the body tempo, which also draws our attention in, because the important thing is that you don't let the attention drop. So for example, if somebody does a gesture and then it just falls out and drops, all of the attention and focus drops with it of the person watching, right? And so what you did really beautifully there was to move in a sustained way and then automatically move into a quicker body tempo, but without dropping the energy in between, which sometimes people do. So, brava, let's continue moving forward a little bit.
Okay. I think this is.
Keep going. Cool. So a lot of great things happening through the Così de Fluvio del Desio. The gestural world on the Felice mi fa really didn't come beyond here. I think the Felice mi fa could go even higher, right? That's the moment where the volcano explodes, right?
Okay.
For my personal taste. And also it just shows me that you're comfortable in your physicality and stuff like that. Let's see. So I feel like, okay, so there's one little moment, I forget exactly where the crossed arm gesture came in.
I think it was so bene tu e non le vuoi dire.
Good. So if you do it as a choice, I'll believe it and respect it. If it lasts too long, though, one of the things is that, like, I would never stage an emotionally vulnerable aria behind a piece of furniture, right? Because if I say I love you, but there's a piece of furniture between me and the audience, that piece of furniture becomes an obstruction from how I can emit and transmit my emotion to the audience. Similarly, gestures can do the same thing, and even just shoulders, right? So if a character is sad, a lot of times the tendency is to curl in the shoulders and to protect the vital organs, which I think is a natural human instinct. But what the audience is paying for is to see the artist reveal their pain, right? So opening up into the pain is actually kind of a much more cathartic thing for the audience. And so, so if you are going to do the crossed arm gesture, commit to it, but then also know when and how you're going to come out of it, right? Make a really strong specific choice. And I think you can have a little bit more fun with the language in the struggi and mi tanto mi fuggi. I think that there's a little bit more in the language that can activate the body, right? So whether she's making fun of suffering or whether she's experiencing suffering, become the physical embodiment of suffering, or to rifugi, to shun or to run away or to get away from something. become the physical embodiment of that thing. You know, whatever you're talking about at any given moment, whether it's the whether it's the pain or anything like that. So we only have about 3 minutes or so. Do you have any initial questions? I know I probably spoke too much, but
I don't think I have a question. I just I really liked what we did. What I felt in the beginning from what I felt in now, it's so much better and so much different in a good way. And because it's more fun also to sing. Yes.
It's important to remember that, you know, we do this because we love it. And even if we're experiencing nerves or fear or something like that, the person who's doing the casting wants you to succeed. You know what I mean? They want you to be the person who they're going to cast. You know, if we were to have more time to work together, I would continue to refine the specificity of the gestures and of the extremes of the emotional contrasts within it. Because even a lot of times when professional singers do this aria in auditions or in performance, so many times there's not a huge emotional range within how they perform it. It's either just sexy all the time or angry all the time, you know, and literally there's such a huge multifaceted variety of things to choose from. And I think a lot of it's in the language, a lot of it's in the music, and a lot of it is in creating those moments of sustained versus non-sustained, you know, much more quick movements and things like that. But it was lovely working with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. Really.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think
Mr. Skiba, are you with us? Well, maybe we can talk until Scott interrupts us. They may be having technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Where are you right now? Like, what city are you in?
I'm in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I'm living right now in Phillipsburg.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I really like it here. It's very
nice.
Yes.
Hey there, sorry to interrupt. I think Scott got kicked out of the chat.
Yes, this was my plan all along.
There it is.
Hey, sorry, we're having like a storm, so it kicked me.
No.
Yeah, our internet went out last night, so.
Good. All right. Well, yeah, I was like looking at my phone. It's like, oh no, has everyone lost it? But
right.
You were in the middle of a profound statement. I'm sorry I missed it. But
I'm very rarely in the midst of a profound statement, but. So I think we're ready for some a mes amis.
All right. Camila, I'll hide you and we'll bring you back in a little bit to say goodbye.
Brava.
Well, hello. My name is Angel Gomez. I am from Texas. I live in South Texas. Very tip. And I go to the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, and I study with Dr. David Sadlier. I'm a senior. Yeah, I'm going to be singing a mes amis from La Fille du Régiment by Donizetti.
Wonderful.
Ah, mes amis, quel jour de fête, je vais marcher sous votre drapeau. Ah, mes amis, quel jour de fête, je vais marcher sous votre drapeau. L'amour qui m'a tourné la tête, désormais me rend en héros. Ah, quel bonheur! Oui, mes amis, je vais marcher sous votre drapeau, je vais marcher sous votre drapeau. Oui, celle pour qui je respire, me veut araignée sourire. ces doux espoirs de bonheur troublent ma raison et mon cœur. Ah, mes amis, quel jour de la fête, je vais marcher sous vos drapeaux. Ah, mes amis, quel jour de la fête, je vais marcher sous vos drapeaux. Je vais marcher sous vos drapeaux, je vais marcher. Ah, mes amis, je vais marcher sous vos drapeaux. Pour mon âme, quel destin! J'ai sa flamme, j'ai sa main. Jour prospère, me voici, militaire, militaire et mari, militaire et mari. Ah, pour mon âme, quel destin! J'ai sa flamme, j'ai sa main. J'en fais serment pour mon âme, quel destin! J'ai sa flamme, j'ai sa main. Jour prospère, me voici, militaire, militaire et mari. Pour mon âme, quel destin! J'ai sa flamme, j'ai sa main. Me voici militaire et mari. Me voici militaire et mari. Militaire et mari.
Bravo. Bravo. Can you hear me?
Yes.
There are beautiful things happening in Texas. That's amazing. My compliments to you and Mr. Sadlier. You guys are doing some great work down there. Very exciting to see. Awesome. You know, like from the very beginning, one of the things I really loved were the transition into the l'amour. You know what I mean? Like I think as soon as you brought forth like a very strong sense of character and everything at the beginning, and as you moved into that l'amour, it really just captivated me, both vocally and dramatically, in terms of your presence and everything. And that was, and the oui, c'est le pour. Again, those transitions, you know, a lot of times when I see this aria performed, people don't really emphasize those transitions to the extent that I would prefer, maybe. And I just love that you had such a wonderful emotional connection to both of those sections. So kind of like what we talked about with Camila, I'd love to get a sense of who you are, of who the character is from the very top in the music, right? And so that can really, you know, be any number of things. It can be you kind of shaking hands with the other soldiers, you know, who you're with, or you can be very proud of your uniform, you know, things like that, because this is the first time you've ever worn a uniform. I mean, when you're a kid, you see the soldiers march through and all the ladies swoon, not all of them, but a fair amount of them swoon, and you know, like, oh man, it'd be great to be one of those kind of guys, right? And so this is kind of a moment that, you know, I'd love to get a little bit more of that, just in the music, even before you start singing.
Okay.
One of the most important things that I find keeps me engaged in an audition, and I'm talking more live auditions, but also video, as we start to do video auditions more, is to always have a clear visual point of focus for every thought, idea, and emotion, right? So for something that's plural, like a mes amis, that's all of the soldiers, that's everybody here, right? Quel jour de fête, right? A celebration is an amazing thing. So I'd love to get a sense of the energy of a celebration in the way that you sing that word, and also in the physicality of how that emotion comes out, right? And then that is going to be contrasted, right? That whatever you decide that quel jour de fête, right? And then je vais marcher is a different idea, and that needs to be communicated in the comportment of the body, right? Sous vos drapeaux, I want to see you see the flags, right? So the à mes amis visually is connecting either to individuals or to the whole group, right? Le jour de la fête, we have this idea of the celebration. Je vais marcher is a little bit more strict and almost military in a sense, right? Sous vos drapeaux, and I see you see the flag, right? And then as you move, you know, especially if the flags are flying high, as you move into the l'amour, right? And you say, love which has turned my head, right? So it's a new thought, and that's what communicates that new thought and that idea, right?
Got it.
And then coming up with a strong gesture for the hero, you know, deciding what that wants to be. Désormais, mes ronds héros. It could be here. It could, you know, probably doesn't want to be. It could be a salute. You know, it could really be anything. And my job here is not really to dictate what the specific gesture should be, but to let you know that part of the homework is deciding for yourself exactly what that gesture wants to be. So that it's like riding a bike. You don't have to think about it like you're, you know, if you have all of your gestural world worked out ahead of time, or at least a structure, then you can operate within that structure. It's almost like jazz, you know, or if you know, like at this moment, I'm going to have a nice strong gesture that accomplishes this, that you know, then there's room in the middle sections to kind of fill in what those other things want to be. But when you audition, when anybody auditions, there's going to be a certain amount of nerves. And the more that you can work these things into your, not only muscle memory, but your emotional memory, right? Because on a daily basis, hopefully, you know, like the range that people experience emotionally isn't that great. Like people rarely go from the depths of despair to, you know, high ecstasy, you know what I mean, in a single day. And in opera arias, they happen within a matter of seconds. There are these like really sharp emotional transitions that are just part of the art form. And, you know, so practicing that emotional agility is extremely important as well. But let's look, right, so pour mon âme, we need to get a sense of your soul, and then we need to place the idea of destiny visually and spatially, right? And then, as you say, j'ai sa flamme, right? So j'ai is possessive, right, grammatically. I have her flame, I have her flame, I have her passion, right? So we need to get a sense of that in the body. So work with me super quick here. Pour mon ama, if you were to do almost like a silent movie version of that idea, so mouth the words, but make sure that I understand that what you mean is by my soul, right? So, yeah.
So from Pur Monama.
Yeah, for now, yeah.
So
Good. So let's, I saw the destin come in, right? So let's get pour mon is possessive again, right?
Okay.
It's my soul, right? So not that we want it to become like a boy band kind of, version where every little word, has a little dance move that goes to it. But yeah, take me from Por Mon Ama again and go silent movie with it.
Okay.
Yes, I got the, yep. Yeah, there it is. Keep going.
Oh.
J'ai,
And then
ça, flamme. There it is.
Okay.
Right? Incredible.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then
so it's like mine and then the flame. Okay.
exactly, and so many times when people are talking about the operative words or the important words in an aria, a lot of times people will skip over like, oh, my heart, or oh, my sorrow. Well, my sorrow, depending on like where you want to put the emphasis, and especially since this aria, the ideas and the words do repeat a lot. You know what I mean? Like you say these different phrases. So choosing a different stress or a different word to stress or emphasize in each given iteration of a phrase is only going to bring depth and nuance and three dimensions into your performance even more.
Okay.
So let's do kind of the same thing with the A mes amis, using the silent movie exercise.
Okay.
So that we get a sense of, yeah.
So right from the beginning, I'm me.
Yeah, without music.
Okay. So
good. Can I see the feta more clearly?
okay.
Mm-hmm. Can the feta have a gesture that currently a lot of your gestures are not coming above here?
Okay, gotcha.
Right? So a celebration, right? I mean, he's military, but like, let's celebrate, let's party. You know what I mean? And that'll give me a sense of your willingness as a performer in an audition. If I don't know you, you know what I mean? That you can command the stage, that you have this commanding presence already, but like just be an animal and grab it and take it and let your excitement about the day, the more you ramp up the intensity of the emotion, the more justified these bigger gestures are going to feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one more time again.
Yeah, and let's actually do it without the accompaniment, but with the words, so that I know where you are at each given moment.
Okay. So, à mes amis, quel jour de fête, je vais marcher sous votre drapeau.
Good. So what that was good. À mes amis, right? They're all here. Quel jour de fête, and then more strict and military for the je vais marcher, right? And then the movement towards the flags, yeah.
Maybe grab the uniform, je vais marcher.
Yeah, that'd be great. A little Napoleon or something.
Okay. Sure. So one more time.
Please.
Okay. À mes amis, quel jour de fête. Oh, sorry. Okay. So, à mes amis, quel jour de fête, je vais marcher sous votre drapeau.
Bravo. And again.
Okay. One more time.
Well, the second time through. So like you did it the first time. So how is this one going to be different, right?
Okay. So it have to be.
Is it
different, but the same thing, kind of?
A variation, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So take me from the top, and then do the same phrase again for the second verse that you say it.
Okay. So the first phrase and the second phrase. I continue the song basically.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. À mes amis, quel jour de fête, je vais marcher sous votre drapeau.
Love it.
À mes amis, quel jour de fête,
Yes.
je vais marcher sous votre drapeau.
Bravo, bravo. And then l'amour.
Then, so, votre drapeau. L'amour qui m'a tourné la tête, désormais me rend ton héros.
Good. And what is the gesture for ero?
Ah,
Yeah.
strong. Okay, got it. Gotcha.
Yeah. Good, good.
There's a lot happening on stage.
Yeah. So let's start back in with the music again. And and if can you still see me? Like if I give a gesture like this, you'll be able to see me do that. Okay, cool.
Sure. So I just do gestures and sing through it?
Yeah, I'd like to see it because I think that what you just came up with was really lovely, and I want to see where the next moment is that needs a little help.
Okay. Here we go. À mes amis, quel jour ta fête, je vais marcher sous votre drapeau. À mes amis, quel jour ta fête, je vais marcher sous votre drapeau. L'amour qui m'a tourné la tête, désormais me rend ton héros. Ah, quel bonheur! Oui, mes amis, je vais marcher sous votre drapeau, je vais marcher sous votre drapeau. Oui, celle pour qui je respire, me veut à daigner sourire. À ce doux espoir de bonheur trouble ma raison. Et mon cœur mes amis, quel jour.
Good. So that's awesome. You sing so beautifully. I didn't want to stop you. I was like, just enjoying it so much. I think your move into the oui c'est pour que je respire is great. I think if the drapeaux are up here and the idea of your loved one is over here, just a separate visual point of focus for that. And also, you know, one of the most important things, and I work with my students a lot on this, is the importance of the breath. It's not just, you know, what you feel, but if you breathe in the quality of the emotion when you sing, you know, if I just take a neutral breath, right, without any emotion, but then I want to transition into extreme anger, it's not going to work. If I just go neutral breath, right, that anger isn't going to be there for me. Whereas if I breathe in the anger, right, or if I breathe in the love, when you knock us out with that respira, right, it's going to be there for you from the beginning of the phrase. So it's not just a matter of knowing when you breathe. It's also really important to know what you breathe, what specific emotion. And that's not just for this aria, it's literally for every aria in your rep. Yeah. Okay. And it's not just a note for you, it's a note for every singer. So, and we work on that a lot. Are you an undergrad or a grad?
I'm an undergrad.
Okay, so I'm officially recruiting you. I hope that you will apply to our program, and also Camila, you guys are fantastic. So I don't know if that was even appropriate. I also don't really care. I don't really care. You're fantastic. Good. So let's see. Oh yeah, I'd love to bring a little bit more clarity to that trouble ma raison et mon cœur, right? So that we have the trouble that it brings you here and also to your heart. So let's look for a way to nuance that without getting like hyper, like my mind, I'm not, without being, too ridiculous about it, but keeping it within the natural quality that you already have as a singer and as a performer.
I did have a question.
Yeah, brother.
If I'm singing and I get stuck in the same pattern of gestures because I feel like that happens to me often, what's a good way to sort of break out of that?
Well, again, I think that knowing exactly what your gestures are going to be before you go in, and that you have them in your muscle memory, before you come in. Now, when I direct a show, I tend to overload it with detail, and with really strong choices, so that if the singer, when they're nervous, or if they're having a moment where they're nervous and they forget something, there's a really good, really strong movement or gesture coming up really soon after that that's going to allow them to connect back into the role and into the character and into the moment. But really, it's kind of funny because I did a production of Rake's Progress once, and one of the performers was a really gifted improviser. I mean, he was actually like much more liberated when he could improvise than he was by repeating the same thing each time. The tenor character, was actually got better and better the more he practiced doing one thing, but then by doing it over and over, he could improve on how well he was doing it, right? So it's a little bit, if you're finding yourself, getting stuck, what do we mean by getting stuck by doing the same thing? Well, really what it means is we don't have a game plan yet.
Okay.
And if you and I were to work further on this, we would just get like hyper specific about what you're going to do, so that then you don't have to think about it. It's like riding a bike,
Okay.
and it's in your muscle memory, it's in your emotional memory too. So let's just find what that sort of silent movie version of, maybe you could take me from Oui, celle pour que je respire.
Okay. So no singing, just talking, right?
Go ahead and sing it, but no accompaniment. I'm really just kind of looking for the gestural world at this point.
Okay. From We Sell, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. Oui, seul pour que je respire, âme veut à daigner sourire.
Good. Can we make that sourire like sacred? It's a vow. Yeah, just make it that much more precious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oui, seul pour que je respire, âme veut à daigner sourire. Oh, sorry, more, sort of. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One more time?
One more time.
Sure. Oui, seul pour que je respire, âme veut à daigner sourire. Ce doux espoir de bonheur trouble ma raison et mon cœur.
Exactly. So you did this wonderful thing where the trouble de raison, I got to see that up here, and then you brought in the pain and the trouble in the heart as well. And it's literally those kinds of specifics that really make the difference, when somebody's doing casting and whatnot. And so that ameveux, it was just beautiful. The vows that she deigned, has deigned to smile upon, by your vows. So that was really lovely. So do you have any further questions or anything?
I don't think I have any more questions. Just that one was bothering me a little bit, just getting stuck, but game plan helps a lot.
Yeah, and another quick thing, when I'm watching an audition live, the first thing that I do is I watch what people are communicating from here to here, right?
Okay.
And then the next thing that I do is I see what they're communicating from from the waist up? Like, how is their gestural world? Is it free? Is it open? Is it making sense? But then what I do is I kind of cut off the entire top half of their body and move and just watch their legs and their feet and what they're communicating.
Okay.
And the reason that I want to bring that up is because a lot of times tenors do this a lot, especially like in love arias, like in Gounod or, you know, something like that, or Faust or Romeo. You know, a lot of times what happens is they get lost in the clouds of their love. And then what starts to happen is that their footwork starts to get really unspecific as they're singing. They do this like little happy dance with their feet. And so if we were to continue to work together, what I would also want to look at is making sure that what's being communicated from your waist down is as specific as what we're doing from the waist up as well.
Okay.
So really think of breaking it down into those beats, and have some, you know, watch yourself in a mirror if you don't have anybody to work with, or, you know, we could work together at some point, and like make sure that the entire body is communicating the same story at all times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Beautiful work.
All right, we're bringing back Camila to say goodbye and coming back here. So James, thank you for all of your awesome insight and awesome work. Angel, Camila, thank you both for your great singing and just being part of this. And even though we're not all together, it's at least something, you know, it kind of connects us a bit. So it's great to hear, you know, great singing and work with great people. Any questions, Angel, Camila?
I don't. I'm very happy. Very
All right, James, any final words of wisdom and advice?
You know, the best advice I can give you is just to do your graduate work at the University of Tennessee. You're both outstanding. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I hope that our paths cross in the future as well.
All right, well, thank you all, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Be safe, be healthy, and we will see you next time on the class. All right,
Bravi.
bye.